The thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome back to Lessons for Life. It's Wednesday night and something of a sad story to discuss with you. Hachem was shot in a drive-by shooting in Blackburn, and I'm going to discuss the event with Omar X, who's on the line. He's a poet and an activist. I welcome him to the show. Omar, are you there?
I am here. Thank you for having me on.
Welcome. Thanks for talking to me tonight. Obviously, this is a sad story, and on the face of it, it sounded like young Muslim woman murdered. People jumped to a lot of conclusions when that happened, and the police were very quick to dismiss it being any sort of a hate crime, and some people were almost eager for it to be a hate crime before any facts on the ground were established. It now looks like she was the victim of a mistaken identity, and the reports now are suggesting that well, I don't want to say too much because I might be wrong, but I'm guessing it's a case of a gang-related attack gone wrong. What are your thoughts on the story?
Well, first of all, condolences go out to this lady's family. It's a terrible incident that took place over in Blackburn. You mentioned that the Muslims were eager, almost, and certainly seemingly credulous to accept this as an Islamophobia attack. The reason they were thinking like that is that's what they have. Saudi Arabia, students stabbed to death, and we've seen so many incidents where you have women in a burqa or in a hijab that are attacked. Acid is thrown on them and all over the countries, not just in London, and they see of a young Muslim woman walking down the street and is shot to death. It's only natural to think that something like this has taken place.
Okay, so it looks like it's happening again. Okay, we can understand why people might think, here we go again. There were cries of white supremacy, white privilege. Had this been a white woman, it would have been portrayed in a completely different way. It would have been portrayed as terrorism. And then the saddest part of all, if I just read you some of the stories here. Hachem, 6 more arrests over drive-by shooting of teenager. The saddest part of this for me is that the backlash was an immediate reaction of sympathy from the Muslim community, and people set up charity fundraisers to pay for this young innocent woman's funeral. And then, upon discovering that she was of a Shia Muslim background, immediately tried to retract their good deed and say, "Oh, I don't want to be involved in raising funds for someone of a different Muslim background to myself." I hope that's a very, very minority viewpoint within the Muslim community, but that is a sad case of sectarianism.
When English people look at Muslims and even Asians or Arabs, they don't see us the same way that they see themselves. They see themselves in classes. They have working class, lower class, middle class, upper middle class, upper class. they don't see that with us. When they see us, irrespective of our status in any community, they see us and they think immediately whatever they think, which is, let's face it, they think working class or chavs. Now you have chavs, you have white chavs. Now, respectfully, they are underprivileged, and we also have people that are underprivileged in our community. So we have Asian chavs in our community, and when people say things like that, and similarly, white chavs would say, or maybe working class people would say things like that, and we also have the counterpart that will say ridiculous things that we all need to ignore and just understand that they didn't grow up with the best education system, and they didn't grow up in a healthy environment due to being underprivileged. If you look at where they live and if you look at their schools, and they live like this. So people, white people in particular, need to understand that we have different levels, different standards of human beings when it comes to Muslims, Asians, and Arabs. Now, going back to your point of the actual murder, this is a young girl on her way to the supermarket, getting ready for Ramadan, Iftari, which is the break of the fast. And she left her home intending to return within a few moments, and she was shot dead. And 6 people have now been arrested, and there seem to be 6 Muslim-looking people. It's a tragedy. It's just so sad that 6 human beings, and you see, this is what's disturbing to me. If I was in a car with any of your viewers and one of them decided to shoot a young girl, irrespective of who they thought she was, you think one person in the car would deter the matter. I know Keefe D now speaks on Vlad TV about Tupac shooting. When there were 4 people in the car, you think one of them would have said, look, don't do this. Why are you doing this? Don't do this. And it's a tragedy. Those seemingly Muslim low-down hypocrites will go home with their families and break the fast like they are Muslim people. They should be ashamed of themselves. And Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, said it beautifully when he said they remain hungry all day and they remain thirsty, and Allah is not in need of their thirst or their hunger. The essence of fasting, the actual belief, it's not a case of just remaining hungry like a bozo. You know, any idiot can remain hungry. There's people doing intermittent fasting that remain hungry. This is a spiritual thing. And I remember when I started fasting for the first time in my adult life, not too long ago, on the hottest day, 5 years ago perhaps, or 4 years ago, I sat there with all my friends at the Iftari event in St. Albans, and I had tears streaming, cascading down my cheeks, because I knew that this is something which, as I had a glass of water and I was about to break my fast, I knew there are people who do not have this luxury of just a glass of water.
Wow. So it sounds like fasting is very much something you do rather than about what you don't do.
Absolutely. Well, one thing you certainly shouldn't do is go kill somebody, and it's just a disgrace. The family members, really, I just don't know how they can live happy. I mean, these people have kids, they have wives, they have mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, neighbors, and you drive by and you shoot an innocent lady, and even if you thought whoever she was, still shooting somebody like that is just disgraceful. It's low down, dirty, no good punks that do this. They have nothing going for themselves. They're just straight up murderers. And it's a complete disgrace, not only for the Asians, but for British Asians and for all British people. Absolute disgrace. And I hope that the day comes when we have Sharia law in this country. And I know some people may see this as something extreme, but my job, and I hope as an activist, is to deter this. I don't want any more people to die. So if we could somehow round them up and make them walk like they do in Indonesia around the town, and if all the people that they grew up with, and if everyone on the road looks at them, sees them, and knows that they are killers, then perhaps in future this would be a deterrent for the rest of the potential killers.
It's powerful, Omar. Is this a demonstration of how divided we are and how sectarian we all are? Because the story was leapt on by the Muslim community when they heard that a young Muslim woman had been murdered or killed. Murdered. If you kill someone unintentionally, I'm not sure if that is murder in this country, but that's for a lawyer to decide. But a Muslim woman is killed, and then of course the Muslim community leap on it and are outraged. Why are the rest of the British population not outraged? Shouldn't we all be equally outraged when a young person is gunned down on the streets in this country? Why is it when it's one of us, does it feel that much more close to home? And then for some people, when it emerges, it wasn't really one of us because it's a different type of one of us, and she was a Shia. Let's have a little look through another image here. This activist who had started the fundraising said, "Can someone help me on what to do? There is no way I want to be in a situation where all this could cause me, could go against me on the day of judgment. I put so much effort." So he's trying to retract the good deed that he did when he found out that the young lady was of a Shia background. Why does that change it? Why does it change it, whatever religion a person is? Shouldn't we all be equally outraged when someone is gunned down in the street? And go on.
Firstly, the biggest killer in this country by far is white. The biggest murderer, the biggest rapist in this country by far is white. The biggest pedophile, the biggest robber, the biggest criminal, the biggest drug dealer, the biggest everything involved in crime is white. But
the white people are the biggest community. They're 80% of the population plus.
Irrespective if they are the biggest community or not, that doesn't deter my statement. I'm giving you facts. Whether they are or not, that's irrelevant. I'm telling you that the biggest killer, the biggest murderer, the biggest pedophile, the biggest criminal, the thief, the drug dealer, everyone on the biggest, highest level is white. Now, the British public, for some reason, have it in their minds, because of the media, perhaps biased media that we have, that the most evil people here in this country are brown or are black. And this is why there is no outrage when they see a Muslim girl that is killed. You have, in the last 20 years, according to Lord Pearson himself, we have had around 300 pedophiles or groomers or those grooming people up north and other places, 300. And somehow maybe they call me a racist, maybe I'm just too big of a racist. 85,000 by white people, and you have 2 or 3 a year, if that, by brown people. Maybe that number 2 or 3 is higher than 85,000. So the focus is on us, and this is why there is no real uproar about this poor young girl, innocent girl, just heading off just to the supermarket. But what you mentioned there regarding the Shia people and why the Sunni Muslims are outraged, anyone who is intelligent, anyone who has a little bit of understanding about Islam, I'm not talking about the people who were just born Muslim, I'm talking about the thousands upon thousands, good, decent converts, and alongside them, the good, decent Muslims of Asian and Arabic backgrounds. They know, just like Sheikh Imran Hussein from Trinidad and Tobago says, that how dare you raise the friends of Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, above the Quran and above the Sunnah. This is the only major difference that we really have between Sunni and Shia, is that. the friends of Muhammad were evil, they're saying. I'm saying, what sort of judge of character was Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam?
So you've gone right into the sectarian debate, Omar. You're not going to just dismiss it and say, let's not talk about the war. You've gone into the sectarian debate, have you?
I'm gone into the debate for a reason, and it's the same reason that you in your country have the sectarian issue over in Ireland. I'm making a point. The point is that there are hardly any differences. There is no reason for us to be divided.
Okay, well, here's a quote from Mr. Charity, who tried to raise funds for the funeral and then wanted to retract it. It is totally permissible to disrespect and hate Rafidism. That's a slur against the Shia, because that shirk is done in the name of Islam. The Rawafid often offend us Muslims through their shirk and bid'ah, all done in the name of Islam. This is why we hate them. We don't owe any respect to pagans, especially them.
Now, this person who said this, you have to really reevaluate his comments. What the flipping heck is he talking about? What has that got to do with anything, first of all? This is a young girl, irrespective, even if she's even not Muslim or wearing a hijab or no hijab. This is a young, beautiful girl that left her mom and dad to go to the supermarket and never returned, for God's sake. No manners, no class, complete trash this person is.
But isn't this the mindset, the outward appearance of the ostensibly Muslim girl in a scarf, shot at random, that appeals to the people of the mindset who are identitarian, territorial, want to portray it as one of them killed one of us, and that's why I want to raise money for it. Would he have raised money had it been a young Christian white woman gunned down? Would he have given a damn if it was a young Jewish woman? And I'm reminded of the hadith when the Prophet stood for a Jewish funeral that was passing. You might elaborate on that one for me.
Well, the Prophet of Islam, and one of the most beautiful stories that I have heard, and you really have to go and read his biography, the Prophet of Islam, that one truly an amazing human being he was, that he had a Jewish neighbor. This is a different story, but he had a Jewish neighbor that would throw rubbish on him. She hated Muhammad, the Prophet's guts. She couldn't stand him. Every time when she got out of her apartment, she would look around for Muhammad, the Prophet. When the Prophet came out, she would throw rubbish on him. He never complained. He just would walk past. He wouldn't say, hey, what are you doing? He wouldn't. The man just did not have this in him. And it got to the stage where years perhaps passed by and he doesn't see her for a while, so no one throws rubbish on him or on his way. And he saw this and he was like, what's going on? You know, where's that lady? And he checked with other neighbors and they said, and I'm sure other neighbors had told the lady not to do that, but she insisted because of the hatred she had. What happens is, where is that lady? She's on her deathbed. And who comes to visit? It's Muhammad the Prophet himself. And that woman, when she saw this man, she just couldn't believe that a human being would act like this. And she ended up accepting Islam just on the basis of his kindness. What this man has written, what this man has said, it is a complete disgrace on such a level that no one could truly imagine that this is a Muslim. If he is fasting, if he is reading his prayers, if he is standing and reading the Quran and understanding the Quran, when the Quran says help those people, and there is nothing that he is doing apart from causing problems, and it's a tragedy. And I want to say to your viewers that, look, fine, this is one guy, but we have many more that think like this, and that thinking needs to dissipate from our minds, because we need to stop being low down, no good punks, and we need to stand up for justice. That's what true Islam is.
And will that be able to happen while sectarianism is still holding people back? Well, with that sort of hatred in their hearts, how do we conquer this sectarianism? It's beautiful what you've said, but people will always say, "Oh yeah, but they're not following the right Islam. This is the real Islam. I'm following the real one." How are we going to unite not only Muslims but all like-minded, decent people? Whether that young woman was Jewish, Christian, we should all be devastated that she has been murdered. But it all disintegrates into factionalism and sectarianism. I'm very saddened by it all.
It does, but in reality, all the religions, if we go past sectarianism, we have an obligation to help those, the homeless, and we all agree homelessness is bad, drug dealing and all this criminal activity people do is bad, domestic violence, dishonor killings, and so on and so on and so on. We all agree that this is a bad thing. If you took the priest and you sat him down with the imam, Shia or Sunni, and with Catholics and Protestants and Jews, and if everyone was in one room, they would all agree. They would all agree that these are the things that are killing our community. And when I say community, I mean the entire human community. And these things somehow need to be eradicated. And I want to say one last thing about this poor girl's death, that, you know, a Muslim just doesn't forget. A Muslim is someone who never forgets. When this sort of injustice happens, you just can't forget. Someone has to pay. Someone, somewhere, somehow has to pay for what this poor girl endured.
Omar X, thank you very much for speaking to me tonight. I appreciate it. We do it soon. That was Omar X. Yeah, are we certain she died a Muslim? I didn't know she was Shia and her family support someone like Bashar al-Assad. Oh man, makes me so sad. Makes me so sad that people in the United Kingdom that have never set foot in Syria would dismiss somebody because their family support Bashar al-Assad. Whew. Don't get me started on that one. The Syrian Arab army are 80% Sunni Muslim. 80% Sunni Muslim. The Syrian conflict is nothing to do with sectarianism, despite what people would want you to believe. And I mentioned earlier the hadith, and Omar X mentioned a different one, but there is a story of the Prophet standing up for a Jewish funeral, and someone said to him, why are you standing up for a Jew? And he responded, is he not a human being? Which is great in a way, but it also makes me wonder, what state were the Arabs in, or the early Muslims, if you had to be told that this is a human being? But maybe that's the state of humanity. Maybe we need to be reminded that other people are human beings. Do we really need to still be reminded of that 1,500 years later? Maybe we need to be reminded of it every day, that everybody is a human being. Jewish, Muslim, Christian, Shia, Sunni. Anyway, we've got a human being on line one. I hope it's a human being. Who's this? Hello, caller.
Can you hear me?
We're hearing you loud and clear. Who's this?
Okay, this is Dardasha.
Oh, welcome, Dardasha. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm well. I'm just a bit annoyed about the topic. It's a very sad story, and the reaction to it is just as sad. But what are your thoughts on the topic?
I mean, I completely agree with you, and I heard you mentioning earlier, speaking to the caller before me about the hadith,
Yeah.
And I wanted to call you just to tell you why the Prophet ﷺ stood up at that time, and people said to him, "Isn't he a Jew?" And he said, "Alaysat nafsan."
Okay, is he not human? Nas, people, and nas.
Soul, yeah.
Okay.
So it just shows you the amount of respect for the Prophet.
But all right, I'm going to flip it on and say, is that really respectful to have to tell someone, but he's a human being? I would have thought that would have gone without saying. Was it a Muslim follower that asked him this question? It seems like the stupidest question you could ask. But maybe prophets come for stupid people that need guidance the most.
It shows you that people need guidance, isn't it? And the Prophet was sent there for people to follow the example of what he did at the time. So everything he did at that time was teaching for a lot of people that had possibly no knowledge or had hate, you know. It was the time of a new religion about Islam coming up, and there was so much hate between Muslims, Jews, and so on. And the Prophet and everything that left behind him, if the only people have learned the right way, it would have just been love and respect for everybody. So it really upsets me, the fact that you said, you know, how people try to help the raising money, and then they change their mind knowing what sector she is. This is just unhuman and you know, injustice, and it's just really, really sad to know how we are divided nowadays. And it shows why the world is in so much trouble nowadays, because I think the problem starts with us, you know, how much hate people are having inside their hearts, how much, you know, just the division that you can see is just really sad. Until we know and we realize that we are human and we love for other people what we love for ourselves, I think we will have a better world.
Does it bother you that the people accused of the crime have Muslim-sounding names? Is that relevant? Should I not even mention that?
No, it doesn't bother me, you know, like any killer has to be treated. We shouldn't be treated. You said it before. Why should only the Muslim community be upset for this woman? Why isn't everybody is upset? It's a crime, so you deal with a killer as a killer, and you deal with someone who is dead as, you know, like you ask for justice for this human, whatever faith they have or background they come from.
Well said. Dardasha, thank you for calling me.
Thank you.
And don't forget to subscribe to Dardasha's channel for more entertaining conversation. Thank you, Dardasha.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye-bye. Yeah, absolutely. It shouldn't matter what religion someone is, but we all gravitate towards our own group, and this story has jumped out at me for whatever reason, and maybe there are hundreds of people murdered every year. Omar X mentioned earlier that Muslims are fed up of being targeted for their appearance, for their faith, because they want to wear something on their head, because they don't want to wear something on their head. I think we should just respect everyone and let them express their faith how they wish to. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Who's this?
My name's Imran.
Hello Imran, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm okay, brother. Is this Brother Julian?
Yes, speaking. Great to have you here. Thank you. What's your take on this terrible story?
Sorry, there's a delay. Yeah, sorry, Brother Julian. There's a delay on this thing. I'm just going to slow down the volume on this.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Turn off the phone or the TV or whatever, and you're with me here on the phone.
Turn off the volume completely.
No problem.
No, oops. 1 second, Julian. I've just lost your picture.
No problem. We're through to Imran, who's called the show. Is it your first time calling, Imran, or have we spoken before?
Yeah, from Leicester. I mean, I've been following you for some time.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
You know, alhamdulillah, you seem to have a great understanding, you know, when it comes to answering questions, especially at Speaker's Corner and stuff like that.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah. I just want to give special blessings for Ramzan as well.
Thank you very much.
Inshallah, for you and your family.
Thank you so much.
Just a couple of things, regarding this situation with Muslims. I think one of the biggest problems is Muslims need to differentiate between nas, Allah says humankind,
yeah, nas,
and kufr, yeah.
What's the second word?
Kufr, kafir.
Okay, so nas meaning mankind, and kuffar being unbelievers. Or some people say people that know the truth but cover it up.
That's it, mashallah. That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
People who are definitely using their rational, their understanding, their logic, or whatever, and they've come to the conclusion that there is absolutely no doubt that Islam is the truth. However, they just cannot accept it. They don't want it. So this is what I personally, from my understanding, and those people who I've learned with, this is the understanding of kufr. It's those people who deliberately conceal, cover up the truth, right, on purpose, right, to try and, put people, put other people who are genuinely seeking the truth off, right? And if you look in the Quran, Allah says quite a few strange and unique things. For example, when he talks about the Christians, the followers of Messiah Isa ibn Maryam, he says, leave them. Allah says He will decide on the day of judgment, and He will explain that which we were different on them. He also says that the closest of the people you're going to find are the Christians. Right? Allah even puts that in the Quran. And when He says, when it comes to idol worshippers, so that's other worship, He says they are very slow to come to the truth. So be patient with them. And if you look at this, right, this is what the openness of Islam is about. Now, what I found is the decaying, this sectarian violence, and that, when it comes down to the Crusades and all the other things that have happened in the past, right? They do not differentiate between, this Muslim belongs to this sect, this Muslim. They say, pardon my, what I'm going to come out with a comment here, but they literally just pull down the trousers. If the guy was circumcised, that was it. He was going to get his head chopped up or whatever, because that's the way they did it. So, when Muslims are doing this, it's such a key thing, right? All human life is sacred, from the drop of sperm into the mother's love in the womb, all that time, 9 months, then bringing that child up, and then to be wasted in the way that it's being, the human life, the human blood, which Allah, it's sacred. They just regard it as nothing, and it upsets so many people, Brother Julian. It's happening everywhere. And the problem is that personally, Muslims have no longer got the ability. You must oppose what is evil. Oppose it physically if you can, And if you can't do it physically, then oppose it verbally. And if you can't do it, oppose it with the weakest of faces. Oppose it simply with your heart, But to oppose it, when the caliphs were in play, when Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, Hazrat Umar, Hazrat Uthman, and of course Hazrat Ali, Karamallahu wajh, when they were all there, right, they used to say, if we do something wrong, make sure you let us know, make sure, and if you don't, then you must oppose it. But you find now, look at what's happening in Saudi Arabia with the king. We know that he's guilty of so many evil things, but people are concealing these things, and this is wrong. They should not be concealing. The truth must be made manifest, because without truth, the first sunnah of Prophet ﷺ, before the beard, before everything else, the first sunnah is to speak the truth. And how many people have got beards? They're continuously lying in that. This isn't the way. The first sunnah is the practice. Speak the truth. Then we make it forward. The bridges have already been built. Our predecessors were stronger. There were many bridges. Like, for example, the English language is the last language, right? They used to call it Pig Latin, right? Regarding as a down language, right? But alhamdulillah, even in this, we were taught that our father Adam alayhi salam, my father, your father, everyone's father, right? He taught all the languages to all of the he knew the language. Allah says, as soon as he was created, he already knew the names of the angels. He knew all of these things, and this surprised the angels, that this is a creation. When Allah said to them, I know that which you do not know, right? This was a creation He's created that already knew, things that the angels were like baffled that He's just popped into creation, and look at Him, He already knows all of this stuff. So somebody once said, when a human being does good, all the angels in the heavens, right, sing praises for such an individual. But when a human being, commits an evil action, even Iblis himself is ashamed to be associated with such a human being. And when you take this into account, you start to wonder that where are the Muslims going? Where's our leadership? Everything seems to just have gone in a direction. And this story that you mentioned is very upsetting. With the sister, right? At the end of the day, right? No one knows. Everybody has their own now. I see everybody seems to have their own understanding of Allah, right? And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu in the Hadith Qudsi said, nothing contains Allah except the heart of one who believes in it. And when you're describing these, what is the description of Allah? It's unknowable. That's the most important thing. Something unknowable. Like trying to imagine a color that you've never seen. Look at our brains, right? We're beautiful, amazing. Allah's given us these brains, but try and imagine a color that you've never seen, right? We can't even comprehend that. And energy, we accept energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but simply change from one form to another. But we don't, so where does energy come from then? Right? We're not answering these questions. Anyone asks, where does Allah come from? Right? And, the relationship with the Christians, again, what is the original name before they changed it to God? In the Bible, in the Injil, it was Yahuwah. Huwa was everywhere in the original Bibles, right? And then they changed it to God, yeah? Which is just like, literally, in today's age, God is just like gold, oil, and dollars. Whereas Allah, he calls himself Allah, or he calls himself Rahman. When Allah, out of all the sounds in creation, out of all the sounds Allah's created, the sounds that he chose for himself, he says, call on Allah in the Quran, call on Rahman. His name, his specific name, a Jew masculine, Rahman, appears 3 times in the Bible. Rahman appears 3 times in the Bible, right? Which is amazing. And then when you look at, sorry, I forgot the point, right? Sorry, Julian, if I'm wandering on.
No, not at all, Imran. You're making a lot of very good points. I'm very interested in the language and the translation of the language that sometimes doesn't do it justice. And that's interesting. And this idea of God, and it was Jehovah. I believe some Jews don't even want to utter the name, do they? I think it's out of respect.
Out of awe and respect, they say, yeah. They call it Tetranomegon and Emmanuel and all these other stuff. But Allah chose the beautiful. He says, Rahman. When I found it in the Bible, I was astonished, right? Because the thing was that when they were looking at Yahweh, they see it as a very angry, very jealous. But when Allah describes himself using his own words in the Quran, he describes himself as Rahman. Yeah, like almost like Allah is not the father of any man, but the emphasis is like the compassion. And another thing for the Christian brethren, right? The connection is there because look at the English language, right? Like I was saying, there was once one of the old saints when he said, when the sheen enters the scene, then will awaken the arifin. Yeah? It's a little puzzle thing that he left, right? And when the sheen is a Latin Arabic, as you know, and sheen is a Latin Arabic, and you can say Irish, English, Scottish, yeah? Muslim, yeah? When these two things connect, the sheen and the seen have connected. And then you find that there's no such thing as coincidence in Islam. Allah says everything has a reason for it, though we are not always aware of it. And I found something in the English language I was fascinated, taught to me by OTJ. He said, look at the human body. Allah says that everything was created in his image. Now, when we say his image, we're not saying Allah literally or anything. I'm not here to debate stuff like this because that's beyond my scope of knowledge. But in his image, such a beautiful, look at the figure of a human being. And look at this, the arm, yeah? There's no other way of writing Allah in English except A-L-L-A-H. That's the perfect way of writing it in English. And in Arabic, it's alif lam lam ha, with a big ha, right? Now, look at this. The first letter of arm is A. First letter of leg is L. First letter of leg is L. First letter of arm is A. And first letter of head is H. And even that spells Allah. And then La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah is exactly 24 letters in Arabic, right? Surah Fatiha, the seven often repeated non-stop, surah is that energy of Monday to, from Jummah to, the 7 days of the week. It's there. The 9th month, balance is 9, right? Libra is 9. Everything, Allah says, nothing is being created without reason. He's put it all down for us, right? But coming back to the point with the English, the Christians and the Muslims, the connections have already been established. They loved, the Jews at that time, at the beginning, they loved Muhammad sallallahu for his tawheed and everything. It was only after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the truth about Messiah Isa ibn Maryam, that Jesus Christ, Isa, beloved son of Maryam, right, is none other, right, than the Messiah, right? Then that's when they turned adverse against the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu. But until that revelation came, they loved him. They loved him to bits, yeah?
And presumably not all turned against him. Some may have become Muslim, some may have retained that friendship. We can never generalize these things, right?
Of course, Tyrion, brother.
No, that's amazing what you're saying. You reminded me of something which I need to remember correctly, but you were talking about the word Rahim.
Rahim, yes.
I forget the Arabic word for the womb, as in where... Rahim, yeah, okay, so it comes from the same root meaning, right? Rahim, the womb, and Rahim. What more mercy is there than the mother for the child she's carrying? That's quite a good analogy, and it brings back this idea of God being neither necessarily male or female. He has female attributes, or what we would stereotype as female attributes. He has all the virtues, right?
In the original Arabic, yeah, when they say Allah, right, it's cast as, in the proper traditional Arabic, Allah is unknowable, yeah, but they cast it as a feminine, masculine in the Arabic understanding. But Rahman is cast as a masculine, and Rahim is cast as a feminine, in the Arabic understanding of it. And that Rahman element, yeah, when Allah says, that was a great thing, when my mercy is above my wrath. When Allah said that, yeah, that, alhamdulillah, the whole of creation sighed a relief at that point. That, subhanallah,
Imran, sorry to interrupt. Just give us the quote again about the heart of the believer and where Allah is contained.
Yeah, I was once in a masjid, and the Imam was talking about this, and he mentioned it as a hadith Qudsi. I'm sure somebody can verify, because now they've got to share Google for everything, haven't they? But for us nowadays, we used to have to go and sit with them, and alhamdulillah, pick up the barakah of such people, just by their actions and their behavior, what we can learn from them. One of the greatest things I learned was smiling. Smiling, mashallah, is by far one of the greatest things that we can do. Such a simple thing, but alhamdulillah helps. And he said, nothing in the heavens or the earth can contain Allah except the heart of one who believes in him.
That's wonderful.
That one thing, right, is in Surah Yasin, it ends with something very beautiful. It says, where the individual is asked, enter heaven now, yeah? And he said, oh, what that my people knew. Now, belief and knowing, this is where everybody is at the moment. One can choose to believe in Allah, right? And belief will go up and down. But when one knows Allah exists, that's solid. That doesn't move up or down. Now, if we can come to that realization, all of us, right, our belief, every single person, even if it's going up by an atom, yeah, alhamdulillah. If you know something new about Allah today that you didn't know yesterday, mashallah, you're making progress, right? And that's where we're supposed to be heading. Allah's always taught us, right? He's used beautiful names, the compassion, the mercy element. And we've got to avoid moving too far right, because we become self-righteous. We've got to move too far left, right? But as long as you've got friends, right, who are extreme right-wing, and you've got friends who are extreme left-wing, then you know that you're in the middle, because you're able to keep both of these kind of companions, right, with you. And that's the point. We're all on the journey, and everybody's going to get their answers, inshallah.
Be on the wasat, right? Be in the middle.
Always the Sirat al-Mustaqim, under the blue sky and the green grass, right? If you look at the Surah Fatiha, like Noor, yeah? If you look at original Bani Israel teachings, the Torah, the Zabur, and so forth, right? If you say that they had the red light, yeah? The red light. Everything was very strict. They questioned way more than the Muslims and the Christians on the Day of Judgment. I think they questioned 7 times the Bani Israel on everything that they did. So let's say that theirs is a red light. They were very, very scared about doing things, right? And then the Christians, we can say they had the blue light, yeah? There was a lot of, the thing is that until the Christians don't because they love, and the Prophet Muhammad said that some forms of love are like a madness, and they are completely in love with Messiah Isa ibn Maryam. We can't challenge that. No one should. That's love. Leave them to it. alhamdulillah, befriend them, talk about, the beautiful qualities of our Messiah, because he's our Messiah as well.
Yes.
Allah refers to him as our Messiah. There is no other Messiah except him for us as well. So alhamdulillah, we have the best of all the worlds, Rabbi Musa wa Harun, right? Messiah Isa ibn Maryam, and of course our beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We got alhamdulillah. So if you look at that light, the blue light, and then angels are made of light, and then finally Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, obviously the green light, yeah? By merging these three lights together, you get white light, don't you?
Yes.
The photos, red, green, and blue. Then, so you must get the understanding of all of that. And if you look at the story that Allah's forgiveness, even on prophets, yeah, because prophets are examples, then you start to understand that all of us, again, if Allah did forgive such an action, if it was a teaching for that prophet's followers, and the Quran absolves it, when Allah forgives a sin, that person never committed the sin, no matter what is recorded as. So if you see as a whole, the entire thing makes perfect sense. But the people are being so ignorant, and the people who have this, knowledge, understanding, yeah, it makes wisdom. When you go on a book, so many people have knowledge. They say knowledge is power. You might have loads of knowledge but no understanding, and some people have loads of understanding and no knowledge. But only by merging these things together do we get wisdom. It's that wisdom fruit you want to eat. That's what gives us everything that we need. And the kuffar are covering up so much. Allah reveals so much to us. The kuffar are constantly concealing it. So, when it comes to the family of the Prophet Muhammad with the Shia brothers, right, it's very easy because they've tapped into a teaching. As we know, the Quran has the teaching that is apparent, and then there's a teaching, right, that certain people who are initiated can learn about it, but it takes a lot of study, and devotion. But it was as simple as this. I just explained that over it is 1-9, yeah? Because we never had zeros. The Arabs, the original, we didn't have such a thing as zero. It was just 1 to 9 because it was all about balance. Even when the Prophet Muhammad went on Mi'raj, he went up and down 9 times. Ramadan is the 9th month. So if you look at this, it's completion, yeah? And over it is 1-9. 1 is Allah, 9 is the last messenger for all of humankind, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Now, within this is a secret. Allah says the Sir Ahmed, the secret of Ahmed. And mashallah, it's such a beautiful thing that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, over it is 1-9, yeah? The family, the Prophet Muhammad says, the Quran and the family will never be separated. Now, you've got to understand that this is the same family that's been telling its story from the beginning, from Adam alayhi salam through his son, Shis alayhi salam, and so forth. It's a continuation of that story. And it will finish off with Imam Mahdi alayhi salam and the return of our beloved Messiah, Isa ibn Maryam. So when we look at, and Isa ibn Maryam comes with his Hawariyun, yeah? Everybody had their own, the true Bani, with Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam. They had the true Bani Israel, the ones who follow him, Yeshua and all the other brothers and sisters alayhi salam. Then you had, Messiah Isa ibn Maryam and his Hawariyun, and of course you had Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his thing. And one of the most amazing is the kingship, the overlordship of Sulaiman alayhi salam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam upheld that. Even the Quran confirms this, where he said, the kingdom of my brother, right? Continue. So the overlord of all the prophets, like the kingship, it still exists, and Sulaiman alayhi salam is still, regarded as that king,
wow,
who settles.
King Solomon, yeah?
See?
King Solomon is still a king, or is acknowledged to be one.
Still, every prophet is alive, right, in Allah. If Allah sustains them, Allah says that. Idris alayhi salam went up with the angels, right? Remember, death is, after Isa alayhi salam's situation, death is never a permanent state. It's a taste. Allah equates it to a taste. You drink some Coca-Cola, you get a taste, and then the taste is gone. And that's what death is. It's not a permanent state no more. It's a taste, and then there's barzakh in the grave. And this is something else that people don't understand. That one of the blessings that we got after Messiah Isa ibn Maryam, yeah, the situation that occurred. Until then, death was not what it is now. It was something far more, let's say, permanent is the way I would describe it. Then after that blessing, Masih meant something happened. He overcame something. Allah gave him an ability that allowed everybody after that point just to taste death. It wasn't a permanent state no more. And this is why we have a situation called barzakh in the grave, up till the day of judgment. For some of the good people, they will, like Musa alayhi salam, as we know on Mi'raj, he was praying in his grave. constantly praying salah. This is authentic, and we know that Idris alayhi salam was sitting on the tree, sitting by the tree, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to meet him because of his age. So, there's so much there. And we know that St. George, the one they call St. George, Jirgis, right? Or Khidr, as well, the one who was accompanied Zulkarnain, right? And if you study his story, if you want to follow it all the way back, you'll find him as the Roman general, right, who met with Hazrat Khalid bin Walid. There's a story there. If you look hard enough, I'm sure you'll find it.
And Khidr, or St. George, is loved by the Palestinians, Christian and Muslim alike.
Viva Palestine, inshallah.
Imran, I've got another caller that joined. Oh no, we just lost him. We had someone I think wanted to join you. Oh wait, yeah, you're through.
Alhamdulillah.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, caller.
Hello?
You're through to Imran.
Hi, I just wanted to ask this guy if what he's saying is actually accurate, then why is it that all the people are coming to our country? Why is that the case? And why is it that they've got hell in their countries?
Well, they've gone, but I don't know if you want to answer that question, man.
Brother, Julian, you go first, and then I'll inshallah, I'll add on after that.
Well, okay. Long story short, people from poor countries have always tried to go to rich countries, and rich countries, many of them have got rich by stealing from poor countries. I think it's as simple as that. But what say you, Imran?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Personally, Allah knows what He's doing, and I genuinely believe that the Muslims lost the ability to oppose evil. Yeah, remember that, like Prophet said, in the end, there'll be so many of them, but they no longer oppose evil. And this is the dilemma, that, from our family's traditions, we were looking a while back. Generally, what used to happen was, they make up their families, they had their children and so forth. Then at the age of about 40, they would go out, where there was either oppression that was going on, they would go out to fight against these oppressors, or they would help out if there was anything that was needed to be done. And from the age of about 40 till whenever they would return back to their families eventually, but generally they would go out just to do something for Allah, because Allah gave them their family, their children and so forth. Yeah, not like today's nonsense where they're going out to fight, and this is stupid. If you want to help, go. There's orphans in India, right, who need someone to look after them, right? There's people who are suffering everywhere. All these men just sitting, getting big bellies, and not doing anything, making money. Instead, right, if they just suddenly realize, hold on, my children are grown up, now I want to give something back, and at the age of about 40 or whatever, to leave their families for a while, go and spend a few months in a poor country or whatever, do some good work.
Is this anything to do with the Prophet receiving the revelation at age 40? Is that the reason it would be that age?
I think it's maturity, isn't it, Julian? I think all of us, we reach a level of maturity, don't we?
Yeah, at 40 apparently. That explains it.
Generally did, apart from Isa alayhi salam, he got his revelation. He started more or less as soon as he was born, because when they were accusing the Virgin Maryam alayhi salam, they were accusing her, and he started to straight away, oppose it straight away. I think one of the most amazing Bibles I ever came across was when I went to Egypt. I met some unique characters down there, and alhamdulillah, they introduced me to a gospel called the Gospel of Thomas, which has got 114 sayings of Isa alayhi salam. As we got 114 chapters of the Quran. So for me, numbers is, Allah says everything's been numbered. I just found that as quite a unique coincidence, let's say. And as I read those teachings of Isa alayhi salam, things became quite clear to me. And also one of the most amazing characters I came across was the character who I studied my name, Imran. Yeah, as you know, Surah Imran is the third chapter of the Quran.
This was who was looking after Maryam, right? Maryam was in the care of Imran.
Maryam's father, that's right.
Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 3 verses. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna Allah astafa Adama wa Nuha wa ala Ibrahima wa ala Imran ala alamin suriyatan ba'dahum min ba'd wallahu sami'un alim. That Allah chose as the fathers Adam and Noah and Ibrahim and Imran. So that's the first verse where Allah mentions Imran. Then he says, it's قالت امرأة إمران ربي إني نذرت لك ما في بطني محررا فتقبل مني إنك أنت السميع العليم, where it mentions the wife of Imran. So Imran comes a second time, right? About, she was expecting a male, but it turned out to be a female. And then the last verse where he mentions Imran is Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. If you know that, he always mentions Masiah Isa ibn Maryam, Isa ibn Maryam, Isa ibn Maryam. But here something unique happens where Allah says, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, وَمَرْيَمَ ابْنَةَ إِمْرَانَ الَّتِي أحسنت فرجها فنفخنا فيه من روحنا وصدقت بكلمات ربها وكتبه وكان من القانتين. Where all of a sudden now Allah, Masiah Isa, Maryam, and then it says Maryam ibnata Imran, and that's the last verse in, I think it's Surah Tahir, where he mentions that. Now the unique thing about this character Imran, what I found fascinating, was Imran is the father in Judaism. As you know, in Hebrew, the meme and the noon are interchangeable, so they can move the meme. Why we say Imran, they say Amram. They put M at the end. In their Torah, they change the noon to a meme because of it at the end. So that Imran, is the father of Musa alayhi salam, Harun alayhi salam, and Maryam alayhi salam of that time. Okay. Israel. Then you find Imran occur again as the husband of Hannah, so at that time he's the husband of Jochebed, and then he becomes the husband of Hannah, right? And in this one he becomes the grandfather of Isa alayhi salam, and all those stories have been covered up. They're very hard to find, the grandfather and Isa alayhi salam. In his younger years, what happened there, covered up. But then the strangest thing of all, this is why I say that there's a massive cover-up happening even in Islam, is did you know that Abu Talib, the uncle of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's father, Abdullah alayhi salam, passed away, and his mother, Sharika Amina alayhi salam, passed away, the one who took over looking after him was his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, but Abu Talib. And guess what Abu Talib's real name is? Imran.
Really?
He occurred in three, wow. He occurred 3 times. Imran, the red, green, and blue. So when you see the one who guarded Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with his very essence, right? But remember that he had already accepted Masiah Isa ibn Maryam, you see? At that time, he was already following the deen, but no one, because they associated Isa alayhi salam with the worship of idols, because as you know in the Kaaba there was when all the idols were being destroyed, and this is Sahih. I think even one of the Salafi scholars is that there was a picture of the Virgin Mary with Isa alayhi salam, and even though Rasulullah destroyed all of them, that one picture he gave it to us Ali, that was not destroyed like the rest of the
Wow.
That's fascinating.
That's amazing.
And this is confirmed, you can confirm it. I'm sure Abu Bilal Phillips or something like that is supposed to be really, really strict. He's even put it down in one of the books that when they were destroying all that was the only thing that they did, there was some kind of respect there. But when you look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, always said, you could leave the Christians alone because they're in love. They're in love, and love is what everybody wants, right? And it is all Rasulullah almost like when a person is in love, it's a form of madness. You cannot hold such people accountable because they are in it. And Allah says, the one who's offended by the shirk is Allah Himself. Allah Himself is giving exception to them, nobody else, not to the Hindus, nobody else. No. Only to the followers of Masih. He said, you don't leave them alone. I will sort it out on the day of judgment. It's specific, it says that in the Quran, right? So we've got to look at ourselves and wonder, that where are we moving and what direction? Are we preaching in the right way? Julian, why I respect you, mashallah, Allah bless you and your family. The respect. I was one day, I seen a talk of yours on Speaker's Corner, and somebody was cussing about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa, about the
I know the one you mean.
And the way you put it down, you said a beautiful thing. Alhamdulillah, I love you for this because it gave me a good way of answering. That Prophet would never contradict the Quran. And he says, the marriage, you mentioned the marriage, the ayats of the marriage and stuff like this. And alhamdulillah, great wisdom in that, brother. Seriously, hats off to you, alhamdulillah, because that really, put things into context for me, right? Because I know a lot of Muslims struggle with those questions. Well, one thing I say about hadith, right? We know that Allah gave a validation on the Quran, yeah? He said the Quran will never change. The stupid thing is people are trying to extend this protection that Allah gave onto the hadith books. You can't do that. Allah didn't give a guarantee on the hadith books. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, he wrote down so many things about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? He had a whole kitab, but in the end, I think they were all buried, right, and put away, because he said that because times change, culture changes, right, and we have him living. So these examples is while he's living amongst us, right, we can follow it. After us, right, the living example is not there, right, so how are we going to follow it in that manner, right, and Allah will protect his deen in whichever way. So, you know, when people don't lift up the hadith books to the level of the Quran, for the Quran is the word of Allah. You know, if you ask today's scholars, if you want to ask people that, you know, all right, we've got the Bible, we've got the Torah, right? Would you compare that to the hadith books? Not the Quran, just the hadith books. And a lot of people put the hadith books above even those holy scriptures. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Interesting.
More correct. Well, all of us, again, these were divinely inspired by Allah. The other things, right, are being done by men, right? There's no protection. Allah didn't say he was going to protect the books of hadith. There's nothing in Quran that says, Allah said he'll protect the Quran. And the Quran in its essence, imagine that energy, Jimmy. I've been thinking about it. The azan starts when the sun rises from China, all the way non-stop. The azan, that human energy, it's like the bees buzzing, right? That human energy is consistent, the prayer call, the action is consistent, yeah, from east to west. And then the prayers are consistent. There isn't a moment where the Quran is not being recited in this world. You know, even if people are just talking, Subhanallah, Inshallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, Allah Nikasam, whatever, it's constant. It's just constant. That human energy from the time of Prophet Muhammad all the way to now, in its original form of Arabic. What kind of energy is that? And, you know, Alhamdulillah, if people could just understand what the Quran is, and you're a Hafiz, even if you know just a few verses of the Quran, you're a Hafiz of that, ain't you? You got that in your heart. You are now a protector of those verses. And what an honor, you know, mashallah, to have the Quran sit in one's heart, and it sits there. And alhamdulillah, it's such a beautiful thing. We are very blessed, alhamdulillah, very blessed to be raised in Islam, right? And to have it, the people before us, if they knew what technology has brought forward for the Quran, you know, and people are, instead of using this technology to really go into the Quran and the fascinating mysteries and how Allah, look, even Ayatul Kursi, looking at the first line of Ayatul Kursi to the last line of Ayatul Kursi, and look how they both go in sync with each other until you reach the middle, right? The light, we were talking about light earlier. When we get white light and we split it, it becomes 7 major colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue,
the rainbow,
violet. And look at Surah Fatiha, right? Perfect. It just fits so perfectly, even in that how the colors fit, and the 7 days.
Well, 7 days of the week, yeah. I love all. It's fascinating, and there is so much there. I don't know why you would. It's almost as if the people that fixate on the hadith, it's like they finished the book and they want something more. But if you go back and really meditate upon these ayahs and surahs and really explore it, there's so much there. There's so much undiscovered.
Of course. Do you know, like, for example, one little thing for you, Surah Fatiha, right? Look at the letters in it. Did you know that 7 letters don't even appear in Surah Fatiha? Right? Just a little thing, just a scraping of light. You pray Surah Fatiha hundreds of times when you pray Salah, right? You pray in the day and that. But there's 7 letters that don't appear in Surah Fatiha, right? And there's 7, if you look into the Injil, right, there's 7 scrolls, right, in Revelation and so forth, right? It tallies so perfectly that the 7 letters of punishment, right? There's no jim in Surah Fatiha for Jahannam, yeah? Okay. Which is, as you know, hellfire. Yeah. There's no khair for Quran. There's no sheen for shakawat. There's no joy for zulmat. There's no fair for firaq, and so forth. There's these 7 letters that don't appear, but they tally perfectly with Revelation, right? Wow. And this is the connection. These bridges are there. But Muslims, right, are just being so silly. Like Muslimin, Suleiman, the same letters of Suleiman, right, are the same letters when you put Hamim to show that Sulaiman is a Muslim. He wasn't a magician. Right, there's an ayah that confirms that Hachem at that time, the people were practicing the evil arts with the evil demons, Baal and all them filthy, disgusting things. And Sulaiman alayhi salam, right, the two angels came back because they were practicing, that time they were practicing black arts. So Allah inspired two angels called Harut and Marut. There's a story behind them. And they went and they said, look, this is not the power of Quran. This is not the power of Allah's word. This is just the opposite of the energies you're using, magic. And because this will separate man and wife. Yeah, nothing good comes out of this, and we are but a trial, right? And this is what they were using at that time, these evil magics, right, which is prevalent now. And it's even more so with the technology of today. As we know, the Jah, he uses his magic. It's the same thing. The magic is just logic and magic. That's what it is. One, it makes sense to everybody because it follows a set pattern, and the other one is chaotic. One is ordered, and that's called logic. The other one is not ordered, and that's called magic. Yeah, and this is what it is, and it's still doing the same thing, right? Men and husband and wife are separating because man is using that logic, internet, whatever, the 666, World Wide Web, whatever you want to say, mark of the beast. They're using it, watch pornography, talking to, flirting with other people, and as a result of that, it's separating their marriage. Right, and it's the same thing.
Causing disharmony. Yeah. There's a lot of things interrupting and causing disharmony. I saw an amazing video the other day where some artist had got a massive white canvas, put a can of paint on a string, just hovered it and just swung it, and you would think it would cause just like random lines, but this thing just started swinging and it was drawing perfect ovals, perfect circles, getting slightly smaller, slightly smaller, and it looked like a exact map of what the universe looks like. And it just shows you that yeah, it's amazing. The natural way of things does have an order. It's not random chaos. There is an order there, but sometimes we get our brains mangled by this chaos that's sort of interfering with it.
Of course. I'm sure you come across the water, where that Japanese scientist where he proved that positive thing on water, right? And then that water keeps that positive thing. So, the verses of the Quran, if you're feeling sick, before taking a tablet or anything, just to pray Surah Fatiha, right? With some water and have that, just a simple thing, right? Yeah. And people often ask me that, Imam, we make dua, but the dua don't seem to happen. Why? Because, for the Quran's energy, you need a truthful tongue. Seriously, the more truthful your tongue is, the more the Quran verses will do their miraculous power for you. Because that's what the Quran is. It's a miracle. You have a truthful heart, more of the Quran will sit in your heart. It's better to be silent, right, than to lie. Because your blade is sharp. Your words will hit their mark. Your arrows will hit the mark. Your eyes. When you wink, it's like when you are blinking. It's almost like arrows. When the Prophet ﷺ described when he met with Allah on Mi'raj, he says 2 bow lengths or closer. Right? The 2 eyebrows. There's something there, and we as human beings, alhamdulillah, what these people call earth, fire, wind, water, right? In magic, in logic, it's just, look, earth is solid, yeah? Water is liquid, air is gas, right? And fire is plasma, yeah? So when they're calling about jinn are beings made out of plasma. And as you know, in the future, right, with these people carrying the technology, they create AI, artificial intelligence. When Allah says, do not worship idols created by your own hands, later on, these human beings, these very same idiots, right, these shayateens, are going to inspire humanity to, this is an AI, machine. They'll make their own gods, an AI Buddha later on. And people will start worshipping that. They won't worship stone in that. They'll start worshipping AI gods. And then later on, it becomes foul.
There's a verse in the Quran, and I think it relates to Sulaiman al-Hakim, that mentions the jasad. The jasad. Which just means a body, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And there's going to be a jasad on the throne, am I right?
That's right.
So this is the idea that it's almost like a clone, not a real living thing, but just a body will be ruling over us. And I think that's happening now almost, isn't it?
Of course. It's if they keep moving in this track, yeah, it's going to. And the thing is, right, the enemies, right, those people who reject, I call them the rejectors of Isa alayhi salam, and you know exactly who I'm talking about when I say that.
Okay.
The rejectors of Isa alayhi salam. Now, something's interesting as well, right? A connection that was made, right? They've covered up a lot of it. If you look, right, at a surah called Surah Naziyat, Surah Naziyat, right? Those, and read the introduction of that, right? It's quite strange, right? When we compare to our recent history, what that seems to connect to, right? And I was really fascinated by certain Muslim, let's say a certain Muslim division that occurred in that thing. And the Imam of Palestine, the Imam of Palestine was apparently he was a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is Sunni as well, right? And he decided to join with the other side, on the World War II, because of all the rejectors of Christ coming into the Palestinian lands. So, he joined with that side. Now, none of the other Arab countries joined him on that, except some of the Bosnian Muslims. They decided to join him, right? But they say that had the Muslims joined at that point, right, things would have been very different.
Well, I think that Mufti Hussein, I think he was mistaken and short-sighted and got involved in a war where he might have thought my enemy's enemy is my friend. But if you go too far down that road, it's very short-sighted. I mean, the imperial powers betrayed everyone at that time. They said, fight for us and we'll give you your homeland. They said to one people, fight for us and we'll give you what we promised in the Balfour Declaration. They said to the other Arabs, Lawrence of Arabia made them turn against the Turks and said, fight against the Turks. You're Arab, not Turks. So the imperial powers have played everyone against each other. And
do you see what happened? When you look at Turkey, right? Sultan, I think the last legit caliph was Sultan Abdul Hamid II. I think that was the last one. They said that was still legit, and after that the Masons took over and so forth. And then the Armenian, the reason why after that massacre, the Armenian genocide, that was disgusting. That was one of the worst things that could have ever happened, right? A whole load of Christian people, So when you look at that story, and then Ataturk, right, who these people praised for ages, was not a good person. When you look at it, what he did was very bad, right? Yet see people want to praise such characters, right? It makes you start wondering that, what history have we been taught, and how much of it is legit, how much isn't? It's very difficult to understand what the truth is and what isn't. This is what I was saying. What I personally think is needed. If you look at every other country, I mean, we have traveled around quite a bit, but everybody imitates the West, and I personally believe, right, that there must have been some English Muslims, Muslims, Irish Muslims, white, traditional, people who followed, like, for example, Captain Jack Birdie, the one they called Yusuf Reis, right? And he was called the one they based Jack Sparrow on, right? He was an English Muslim, right? He was a Muslim who was an Englishman, right? Now, that interpretation, everybody's following either the Saudi Arabian version of Islam, interpretations, yeah, or the Iranian interpretation of Islam, the Indian interpretation of Islam, Tablighi, Jamaat, Salafi, Turkish interpretation of Islam, Sufi. You've got all these interpretations, right? The one I'm really, look to, right, is an English interpretation. Those who followed the Messiah, Jesus Christ, right, in whatever, chivalry and the Knights of the Round and all that good stuff, right? The good stuff, not the bad stuff, the good stuff, good mannerisms. And those people who accepted Islam without the influence of any of the other cultures, right? I wonder what kind of flower that was. I would love to have seen that, and I imagine a traditional Irish man, who's completely true to Saint, because obviously they had the saints, St. George, St. Patrick, St. Andrew of Scotland. These were saints. They were good people within Christianity, followers of Christ, right?
Sheikh Imran Hussein has put it very well recently. He said, you have to remember, when the Prophet came, this was not the first time that Islam came, it was the last time.
Of course.
And all these peoples, Buddha, if you look at the true teachings of Buddha, there's a recent book that I've had a look at, or hoping to read it when the owner is finished with it, about the relationship between Buddhism and Islam. All these religions, in their essence, teach the same thing. Imran, I think people in the chat want to go and read Surah Al-Fatiha. I know it's a very important night, so let's. Wonderful call. I really appreciate it, and everything you brought up, I'm going to listen to it again and let it sink in. Thank you very much.
You know what, Mashallah, it's been a while. I've been wanting to speak to you for a while, but Mashallah, I got my prayers done and that, and it just by sheer fluke, alhamdulillah, I seen your face smiling. It was your smile. You just drew me. I thought, Allah, I've got a lot of energy. Inshallah, Allah, I've done my bit for Ramzan. Try and keep myself to myself, right? But your smile, alhamdulillah, you know. It just made me smile. I thought, you know what, inshallah, let me just give him everything that's coming to my heart.
Imran,
so inshallah, I hope you make use of it, and please keep us in thoughts and prayers. Right, got a lot of love from us and all the brethren, who are with me as well, inshallah. And Allah keep you strong, man. I love what you do for Islam. I love the way you keep it with the people, right? And love for me, brother, man. Seriously, enough love, man.
Thank you so much, Imran. Thank you very much.
Allah bless you, man.
God bless you. Thank you very much. Yeah, anytime I'm on, you're welcome. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you. Wow, amazing call. So much knowledge, so much wisdom there. I urge you to watch this video again on repeat. It'll be up there, hopefully forever, if YouTube don't pluck it down like they did to one of my other videos. But that was an absolutely amazing call from Imran. Thank you very much for watching tonight, and we'll do it all again soon. This has been Lessons for Life. We were here, and we're gone. Latest.